I still remember Emma's tiny footsteps echoing in the hallway that morning. If I'd known it was the last time, I might have held her a little longer. When the school called, my heart sank before they even spoke. Emma never made it to pickup. Security cameras caught a white van idling by the curb, doors open, shadows moving inside. My past, my training, none of it prepared me for losing my only child. Hit like, subscribe for more military stories, and comment your city or country. The day started like any other, with me, Jack, fighting to keep my cover as an ordinary Uber driver, hoping that the world would never find out what I really was. At home, Emma grinned, her wild brown hair tied back, her backpack bouncing as she ran out the door. My ex-wife, Rachel, sent a quick text. Make sure Emma gets picked up on time. Things had been tense between us, mostly silent. I kept my secrets close. She thought Uber was all I ever did. The city felt heavier than usual, a creeping chill in the air, the kind that whispered danger if you were trained enough to notice. My first few rides were nothing special. A woman late for work, a college kid babbling about finals. On my lunch break, I always checked security feeds from Emma's school. Habit, not paranoia. Today, I skipped it, and I paid for that mistake. Around 2, the call came. The school secretary's voice trembled. Mr. Jack, Emma didn't show up for end-of-day pickup. We can't find her. My blood went cold. I slammed on the brakes, pulled over, and demanded every detail. I asked if they'd called the police. Yes, but they said to wait. Maybe she wandered off. My knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. I drove straight to the school, ignoring traffic, breaking every rule I promised myself. Parking lot empty. Teachers huddled by the main doors. One officer scribbling notes, too calm for what I knew was happening. There were no signs of a struggle inside. Her lunch bag abandoned, a pencil snapped in half on her desk. Security footage was grainy but clear enough to make me want to scream. Emma waited by the curb, glanced back like she was searching for me. Then a plain white van rolled up, doors slid open, gloved hands. One pulled her inside. The van sped away. No plates, no faces. Not random. I'd seen it before. Overseas, deep undercover, extracting kids traffickers thought no one would ever come for. I felt Rachel's panic burning over the phone. Did you see anything? Is it because of you? I barely managed to choke out a reply. Tears came later, rage came faster. Police were already falling into their routine, alerts, radio calls, checklist procedures. But I knew the clock ticking louder than they did. 48 hours. That's how long you get before a child vanishes for good. I parked in a side alley, checked my phone for contacts no one else even knew I had. My Uber profile was a mask, a shield. But under my seat, locked in a case, were tools I swore I'd never touch again. In that moment, I didn't feel like a father. I felt like a target. And now my daughter was missing, because someone out there knew exactly who I was. Did I know them? Was this payback? Or just evil? Pure and simple? I whispered Emma's name once before I loaded the first weapon and pulled up every piece of data I could. Rachel's voice was a storm on the line. How could you let this happen, Jack? I told you she'd be safer with me. My head spun with guilt, anger, and frustration. I walked through the school's echoing halls, searching for clues the cops missed. The police detective, Sarah, questioned teachers and reviewed camera footage, but her questions felt routine, almost slow, like she was ticking boxes while time slipped away. Ryan, my old SEAL teammate now with the FBI, picked up on the third ring. Jack, send me the footage. I'll run facial recognition and license plate scans. His voice was sharp, professional, but under it I sensed real worry. A father himself, he knew exactly how thin the hope was. Ryan texted me every few minutes with updates, but every new lead felt like a dead end. As sunset bled across the city, Rachel arrived at the school, desperation painted across her face. She grabbed my arm and demanded, "Do you think this is about your past?" Her eyes asked the question I'd been avoiding. Did someone go after Emma because of who I once was? Sarah said, "The pattern here isn't random, Jack. 3 other girls disappeared near this same intersection in 6 months. Any connections? I shook my head, but inside, fear knotted up. Was this a specialist ring? Were they targeting my family? Or was Emma just unlucky? Now I need your help. If your family was in danger, would you break every rule or trust the police? Comment below, what would you do in my shoes? I took matters into my own hands. My Uber routes mapped the city better than any detective's file. The places where no one paid attention, where vans could blend in with rush hour. I started tracking my rides, checking every alley and side street, revisiting every shortcut Emma and I drove together. Rachel and I fought. She said, if you weren't an Uber driver, none of this would have happened. If you weren't always hiding, she didn't know the truth. Uber was just my cover. The secrets I kept from her were meant to protect them, but now those same secrets felt poisonous. Ryan called again. The van had its plates switched 3 times in 2 blocks. This crew is good, Jack. Every word felt like a clock ticking down. 48 hours. I thought back to my days overseas. With traffickers, there's almost never a second chance. Sarah called a citywide alert. Police combed through anonymous tips. Rachel posted Emma's photo across every social media platform she could. I sent encrypted messages to contacts who owed me favors from the old world, people others would never dare to approach. Every hour felt like a punch in the gut. Emma's teddy bear sat untouched on the back seat from yesterday's ride. Rachel stared at it in silence. Anxiety gnawed at me, mixing with shame. Was I already too late? In those first 48 hours, hope crashed and rebuilt 100 times. I swore I wouldn't stop searching. But deep down, a ruthless voice whispered, I'm not just a father. I'm something else. And whoever took Emma, they have no idea what's coming. The warehouse sat at the edge of the industrial district, rusted and forgotten like a graveyard for broken things. Ryan's intel led me here. Abandoned shipping routes, suspicious vehicle activity at odd hours, and whispers from informants about a staging area traffickers used before moving their victims. I parked 3 blocks away, changed into dark clothes, and checked my gear. Glock secured, knife strapped to my ankle, night vision ready. Rachel didn't know where I was. Sarah didn't either. This was off the books, off the grid. Exactly how I used to operate before Emma was born, before I swore I'd never return to this life. The moon barely cut through the fog. I approached from the south side, scanning for cameras, tripwires, guards. Nothing. Too quiet. Either they'd already cleared out, or this was a trap. My instincts screamed both possibilities at once. Inside, the warehouse reeked of mildew and something worse. Fear, maybe. Old mattresses scattered across the concrete floor. Empty water bottles. A child's shoe, pink with cartoon characters, abandoned near a support beam. My chest tightened. Was Emma here? Was she terrified, calling my name in the dark? I moved through the shadows, methodical, silent. Evidence everywhere. Rope marks on pipes where they'd restrained someone, food wrappers dated within the last week, fresh tire tracks leading to a loading dock. This wasn't random. This was organized, professional. Then I found it. A scrap of fabric caught on a nail. Purple with white stars. Emma's favorite hoodie. She wore it the morning she disappeared. My hands shook as I bagged it. She'd been here. But she wasn't anymore. I planted micro cameras in 3 corners, motion sensors near the exits, and a tracker on the dock service door. If they came back, I'd know. Driving home felt hollow. I had proof Emma was alive days ago, but no idea where she was now. Ryan called. Jack, did you go to that warehouse? I stayed silent. Don't answer. Just be careful. If you get caught, I can't protect you. Rachel was waiting at my apartment when I arrived, eyes red from crying. Where were you? She demanded. I couldn't lie anymore. I showed her the fabric. She broke down, clutching it like a lifeline. Jack, I found something. She handed me a folder, military records, classified files she'd somehow accessed. My SEAL Team 6 history, missions I never spoke about, names of enemies I'd made across 3 continents. Her voice cracked. You've been lying to me for years. Who are you? I told her everything. The missions, the kills, the threats. Why I became an Uber driver. To disappear, to keep Emma safe from the people who wanted revenge. Rachel's face twisted between rage and terror. So this is your fault. Someone took her because of you. Her words cut deeper than any blade. She wasn't wrong. My past had caught up, and Emma paid the price. Ryan sent an encrypted message. Warehouse activity detected. 2 vehicles. Moving fast. The trackers were live. I grabbed my keys, but Rachel blocked the door. If you leave now, don't come back. You've already destroyed everything. I looked at her, then at Emma's photo on my phone. Her smile, her innocence. I'll bring her home. I promise. I left Rachel standing there, tears streaming, as I disappeared into the night. My phone buzzed with coordinates. The game was still on, and I was hunting shadows that thought they could hide from someone like me. Whoever moved Emma didn't know the monster they'd just awakened. Midnight city lights blurred as I drove toward the coordinates Ryan sent. I covered my tracks, switching phones, routes, even vehicles. Trust wasn't an option, not for someone with my history. The warehouse surveillance paid off. One of the vans returned, and 2 men loaded crates marked with foreign barcodes. I noted faces, movements, license plates. Tracking them was a puzzle, but SEAL training had made me an expert. They led me to a rundown motel on the outskirts. I got inside using an old contact at the front desk, a favor earned years ago, one I'd hoped never to call in. Creeping down dim hallways, I spotted Carlos, a known trafficker from Homeland Security databases. I'd memorized that face from case files. His arrogance was unmistakable. He exited a room with a grim smile, keys twirling, his phone lighting up as he texted. I followed at a distance, waited by the dumpster until he was isolated, then grabbed him. No heroics, just direct pressure, cold, calculated. In the shadows, I pressed him for answers. His confidence crumbled under threats he understood too well. Carlos confessed this wasn't a small operation. International money, government contacts, rings stretching across borders. But one thing stood out. He mentioned a safe house, where girls were kept for days before an auction. He looked scared describing it, which told me I was getting close. Ryan reviewed my findings and suggested backup. But they'd move Emma soon. Within 72 hours, Carlos said. Every second counted. I returned home and found Rachel awake, clutching a mug in trembling hands. Anything? She whispered. I shook my head. My guilt weighed heavier every night. I prepped gear and set out to watch the house Carlos described. By sunrise, I'd mapped out the routine. 6 men on regular patrols, security cameras peering from eaves, a fence topped with camouflaged wire. No alarms, but the silence was louder than any siren. The street was eerily normal. Joggers, dog walkers, morning commuters, all witnesses to evil hiding in plain sight. I wondered if they knew, or if, like Rachel, they lived just outside the circle of danger. Ryan dropped a duffel bag by my side in a dark parking lot. Tools he knew I'd need, but never admit to needing. Don't get killed, Jack, he muttered. You won't help Emma that way. I set up surveillance for hours, documenting faces, watching patterns. The sun faded, street lights flickered alive, and my nerves hummed at the edge of rage. When the window finally opened, I moved. Cloaked in black, silent, hoping the mission would end here. What I found was both relief and devastation. The basement smelled like damp concrete and fear. 7 girls huddled in the corner, frightened beyond words. I searched for Emma, frantic, desperate, but she wasn't there. Sophie, a survivor, stepped forward and trembled as she pointed to Emma's photo. She was here yesterday. The boss took her away, said you'd come for her. That gut punch told me everything. This was a test. Emma wasn't just a victim. She was leverage. The operation was more personal than I'd realized. Whoever took her was waiting for me to show up. And now, they knew exactly who I was. The safe house was a suburban nightmare disguised as normalcy. White picket fence, trimmed lawn, a mailbox with faded letters. But inside, evil thrived. I spent 2 days watching every movement. guards rotating shifts, groceries delivered at noon, curtains drawn tight even in daylight. 6 armed men, security cameras angled at every entrance, motion sensors rigged along the perimeter. This wasn't amateur work. These people knew what they were doing. Ryan smuggled me tactical gear through back channels, night vision goggles, suppressed weapons, breaching tools. He knew better than to ask questions. His encrypted message was simple: extraction window closes in 12 hours. After that, they moved the girls internationally. I couldn't let that happen. 7 innocent lives hung in the balance, and even though Emma wasn't among them, I refused to leave anyone behind. This was bigger than my daughter now. This was about stopping monsters who thought they were untouchable. The plan was surgical. I waited until 3 in the morning when exhaustion dulled even trained reflexes. The first guard smoked near the side gate, distracted by his phone. I approached from behind, silent as death itself. One choke hold, and he crumpled without a sound. I dragged him into the bushes and took his radio. The second guard patrolled the backyard. I timed his route, slipped through shadows, and disabled him before he could react. 2 down. 4 to go? Inside, the house was dimly lit. I moved through the kitchen, past a table cluttered with empty beer cans and playing cards. The third guard sat on a couch watching television, oblivious. I considered knocking him out quietly, but his hand rested near a shotgun. Too risky. I used a distraction, tossed a pebble against the far wall. When he turned, I struck fast. He collapsed without firing a shot. The fourth and fifth guards were upstairs, voices low as they talked about money and shipment schedules. I climbed the stairs slowly, each creak of wood setting my nerves on fire. At the top, I waited, listened, calculated angles. When one stepped into the hallway, I neutralized him. The other rushed out, weapon drawn, but training beat panic every time. I disarmed him, knocked him unconscious, and moved toward the basement door. The sixth guard stood at the bottom of the stairs, assault rifle in hand. He heard me coming. I had no element of surprise left. He fired. Bullets tore through drywall as I dove behind a washing machine. My heart pounded, adrenaline screaming through my veins. I returned fire, controlled bursts, years of muscle memory guiding every shot. He went down hard. Silence. Smoke hung in the air. My ears rang from gunfire. I descended the stairs, weapon raised, scanning for threats. The basement was cold, damp, suffocating. 7 girls huddled in the corner, eyes wide with terror. They flinched when I approached. "I'm not going to hurt you," I whispered, holstering my weapon. "I'm getting you out of here." Sophie, the oldest, recognized authority in my voice. She stepped forward, tears streaming. "Are you a cop?" "Something like that," I lied. "Can you walk?" She nodded. The others followed her lead. I guided them upstairs, checking every corner for threats. Outside, Ryan's unmarked van waited. I loaded the girls inside, told him to take them straight to FBI custody. He didn't argue, but before Sophie climbed in, she grabbed my arm. Her voice trembled. "Your daughter, Emma. She was here 2 days ago. The boss took her personally. He said you killed his brother in Romania 5 years ago. He said this was revenge." My blood turned to ice. Romania. The mission that ended a trafficking network spanning 3 countries. I remembered Victor's brother, a ruthless operator who tortured children before selling them. I'd put a bullet in his head without hesitation. And now Victor wanted payback. Sophie continued. "He knows everything about you. Your name, your history, where you live. He took Emma because he wanted you to suffer. He said you'd come looking, and when you did, he'd take everything from you." The world tilted. This wasn't random. This was calculated, personal, vindictive. Victor had been watching me for years, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And Emma, my innocent, beautiful daughter, was bait. Ryan pulled me aside. "Jack, this changes everything. You're not hunting traffickers anymore. You're walking into a trap designed specifically for you." I looked at him, fury burning hotter than fear. "Then let's spring it." Sophie handed me a crumpled piece of paper. "He left this. Said you'd find it eventually." I unfolded it. coordinates, a time, and a message scrawled in blood-red ink. Come alone, or she dies screaming. Victor wanted me, and I was more than ready to give him exactly what he deserved. The coordinates led to an abandoned industrial complex on the city's edge, rusted metal towers, broken conveyor belts, and shattered windows that looked like dead eyes staring into nothing. This was Victor's chosen battlefield, a place where screams would echo into emptiness and no one would hear. Ryan sat across from me in the dimly lit garage where we planned. This is suicide, Jack. You walk in there alone, you're not walking out. I loaded my weapon methodically, checking every round. He is Emma. I don't have a choice. There's always a choice, Ryan argued. Let me bring a tactical team. We surround the place, cut off his exits, negotiate. He'll kill her the moment he sees backup. My voice was flat, emotionless. I'd already accepted what this mission might cost. Victor wants me to suffer. If I don't show up exactly how he demands, Emma pays the price. Ryan handed me a micro-tracker and earpiece. At least let me monitor from a distance. If things go sideways, I'm coming in whether you like it or not. I nodded. It was the best compromise I'd get. Rachel called as I prepared to leave. Her voice was broken, desperate. Jack, bring her home. Please. I don't care what you have to do. Just bring our baby home. I will. I promised, knowing it might be the last words we ever exchanged. The drive felt eternal. Every mile brought me closer to either salvation or destruction. I replayed Sophie's words. Victor knew everything. My training, my tactics, my weaknesses. He'd spent years planning this revenge, studying me like a hunter studies prey. The industrial complex loomed ahead, shadows stretching across cracked pavement. I parked outside the main entrance and stepped out, hands visible, weapon holstered. The air was thick with tension, the kind that precedes violence. I'm here, Victor, I shouted into the emptiness. Let's finish this. Floodlights erupted, blinding me momentarily. When my vision adjusted, I saw them, 12 armed men positioned on catwalks, behind machinery, covering every angle. And in the center, standing on a raised platform, was Victor. He looked nothing like his brother. Where the brother had been brutal and ugly, Victor was cold and calculated. Expensive suit, slick back hair, a smile that promised suffering. And beside him, hands bound, face streaked with tears, was Emma. Dad, she screamed. Every instinct in my body screamed to rush forward, but I forced myself to stay still. One wrong move, and she was dead. Victor clapped slowly, mockingly. The legendary SEAL Team 6 operator. You killed my brother like he was nothing. Shot him in the head, and walked away without looking back. Your brother was a monster, I said evenly. He tortured children. He deserved worse than what I gave him. Victor's smile vanished. He was my blood. And you took him from me. He gestured to Emma. Now I take from you. I raised my hands higher. You want revenge? Fine. Let her go. This is between us. Oh, Jack. Victor's laugh was hollow. You still don't understand. This isn't about a clean trade. This is about making you feel exactly what I felt. Helpless, broken, destroyed. Emma sobbed, trembling. I fought to keep my voice steady. What do you want? I want you to kneel, Victor commanded. I want you to beg. I want you to feel powerless while I decide whether your daughter lives or dies. I took a step forward. Guns clicked, safeties disengaged. I stopped. Ryan's voice crackled faintly in my earpiece. Jack, don't do this. We can find another way. But there was no other way. Not with Emma's life hanging by a thread. I began to lower myself to my knees when headlights suddenly cut through the darkness behind me. A car screeched to a halt. The door flew open, and Rachel stumbled out, eyes wild with panic. Stop, she screamed. Please, just stop. My heart dropped. No, not her too. Victor's men moved fast. Two grabbed Rachel before she could run. She struggled, screaming my name, but they dragged her onto the platform beside Emma. Victor's grin returned, wider and crueler than before. How perfect. The family reunion I'd hoped for. He pressed a gun against Rachel's temple. Now, Jack, let me tell you how this ends. You watch them both die slowly, painfully. And then, when you're drowning in grief, I'll let you live, so you can carry that agony forever. Emma cried harder. Rachel's eyes met mine, filled with regret and terror. Victor had won. He'd planned every detail, every contingency. I was trapped, outgunned, with both my daughter and ex-wife held hostage. But Victor made one critical mistake. He assumed I came alone. He assumed I'd follow his rules. He assumed desperation would make me weak. He didn't know Ryan was already in position with a sniper team. He didn't know I'd wired the complex with remote charges. He didn't know that kneeling was the signal. I dropped to one knee, bowed my head, and whispered into the earpiece, "Execute." The world exploded in chaos. Flashbangs detonated across the complex, blinding white light, deafening thunder that rattled bones. Victor's men stumbled, disoriented, weapons firing wildly into nothing. Ryan's sniper team unleashed precision hell from elevated positions, red dots finding targets before triggers were even pulled. I moved instantly. Training overrode fear, muscle memory replacing thought. The nearest guard fired blindly. I rolled left, drew my weapon, and put 2 rounds center mass. He dropped. I didn't stop moving. Emma screamed through the confusion. Rachel's voice cut through the gunfire, raw and terrified. I had to reach them before Victor recovered. Bullets chewed through metal and concrete around me. I used machinery as cover, advancing in controlled bursts. Another guard emerged from smoke. I fired 3 times, watched him collapse. The catwalk above rattled as Ryan's team engaged hostiles from multiple angles. Victor grabbed Emma, using her as a shield. His gun pressed against her head, eyes wild with rage. One more step, and she dies. I froze, weapon aimed but useless. Emma's terrified eyes locked with mine. Her lips trembled, forming silent words. "Daddy, help me." Rachel fought against her captor, clawing at his arms. He backhanded her, sent her sprawling. Fury ignited something primal in me, something darker than training, deeper than tactics. Ryan's voice crackled urgently. "Jack, I don't have a clean shot. Too close. You need to create distance." Victor backed toward an exit, dragging Emma with him. "This isn't over," he screamed. "I'll make her suffer for every second you stole from me." I couldn't let him leave. Couldn't let him take her again. My mind raced through scenarios, none good, all risks. Emma's life balanced on a knife's edge, and one wrong calculation meant losing her forever. Then Rachel did something I'll never forget. She lunged at Victor's leg, sinking her teeth into his calf with desperate ferocity. He howled, his grip loosening just enough. Emma twisted away, small but brave, and dropped to the ground. "Emma, run." I warned. She sprinted toward me, legs pumping, tears streaming. Victor raised his weapon at her fleeing form. Time slowed. I saw his finger tightening on the trigger, saw the barrel tracking her movement. I fired first. The round caught his shoulder, spinning him sideways. His shot went wide, sparking off metal beams. Emma crashed into my arms, and I shielded her body with mine as the firefight raged. Ryan's team closed in fast. Suppressing fire pinned Victor's remaining men. One by one they fell or surrendered, realizing the battle was already lost. Smoke hung thick, mixing with the metallic scent of blood and gunpowder. Victor clutched his bleeding shoulder, fury and pain twisting his features. 2 of his men dragged him toward a side exit while laying covering fire. I tried to pursue, but Emma clung to me, sobbing uncontrollably. Choosing between revenge and my daughter's safety wasn't even a choice. Ryan's voice came through clear. "Jack, extraction team is moving to your position. Rachel's secure. Medical en route." I held Emma tight, feeling her heartbeat against my chest. Proof she was alive, real, safe. Rachel stumbled over, blood trickling from her split lip. For a moment, we just existed together, broken, traumatized, but breathing. "You came?" Emma whispered between sobs. "I knew you'd come." Rachel touched my face, her hand trembling. "Thank you. I'm sorry for everything I said. I'm so sorry. Sirens wailed in the distance. Red and blue lights flickered through broken windows. The complex looked like a war zone. Bodies, shell casings, destruction everywhere. Ryan appeared from the shadows, weapon lowered, expression grim. Victor escaped through the eastern tunnel with 2 men. We're tracking them, but... He glanced at Emma, then back to me. You got her back. That's what matters. But it wasn't over. Victor was still out there, wounded but alive, fueled by vengeance that wouldn't die with a single bullet. The war had just begun, and I knew he'd come again. Men like Victor didn't quit. They didn't forgive. They only festered and planned and waited for the next opportunity to strike. Emma pulled back slightly, looking up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Is it over, Dad? Can we go home? I wanted to lie, to tell her everything was fine. But she deserved truth. Soon, baby. Very soon. Rachel held us both, her tears mixing with Emma's. Around us, FBI agents secured the scene, paramedics treated the wounded, and Ryan coordinated teams hunting Victor's trail. I'd gotten my daughter back, but the cost was still being calculated, and the final bill hadn't come due yet. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and fear. Emma sat on the examination table, small and fragile, while doctors checked her vitals and documented injuries. Bruises on her wrists from restraints. Dehydration. Trauma that would take years to heal, if it ever did. Rachel refused to leave her side. Gripping Emma's hand, like letting go meant losing her again. I stood in the hallway, watching through the window, feeling the weight of every decision I'd ever made. FBI agents moved past me with clipboards and questions. Detective Sarah appeared, her expression unreadable. Jack, we need to talk, she said, gesturing toward a private room. Inside, 2 federal agents waited. One introduced himself as Agent Mitchell from Homeland Security. The other, a woman named Agent Torres, sat with arms crossed, studying me like I was a suspect rather than a victim. You conducted an unauthorized raid on a trafficking operation, Mitchell began. You assaulted suspects, discharged weapons in a residential area, and endangered civilian lives. Do you understand the legal consequences? I met his gaze evenly. I got 7 girls out of that house alive. I stopped traffickers who'd been operating under your radar for months. And I saved my daughter from a monster you couldn't catch. Torres leaned forward. You also violated federal law repeatedly. Vigilante justice isn't justice, Mr. Jack. It's chaos. Chaos. My voice hardened. My daughter was kidnapped by an international trafficking ring. The police told me to wait. Wait while she was moved, sold, destroyed. I did what needed to be done. Sarah interjected. He's right. The network Victor ran had connections we're still uncovering. Officers on payroll, judges taking bribes, evidence buried for years. Without Jack's actions, we wouldn't have the leads we have now. Mitchell sighed. That doesn't change the fact that he broke the law. The door opened. Ryan entered with another man, older, distinguished, wearing an expensive suit. This is Federal Prosecutor Jennifer Hayes, Ryan announced. She's been reviewing the case. Jennifer set a folder on the table. Jack, what you did was illegal. It was also necessary. I've seen the evidence Ryan provided, the trafficking network's scope, the corruption embedded in local law enforcement, the international connections. This case is bigger than one man's revenge. She opened the folder, revealing documents and photographs. I'm offering you full immunity in exchange for cooperation. You testify about everything. Your rescue operation, Victor's network, the corrupt officials. You help us dismantle this entire organization. And if I refuse? I asked. Then you face multiple felony charges and likely prison time. Jennifer said bluntly. But I don't think you'll refuse. Because Victor is still out there, and he won't stop until you or your family is dead. The room fell silent. Emma's laughter drifted faintly from down the hall, fragile, tentative, but real. That sound was worth any price. I'll cooperate, I said. On one condition. You protect my family. Full witness protection if necessary, 24-hour surveillance, whatever it takes. Victor knows where we live, who we are. He'll come back. Jennifer nodded. Agreed. We'll arrange secure housing immediately. Rachel appeared in the doorway, eyes red but determined. Emma won't talk to anyone except you, Jack. The doctors say she needs stability, familiar faces. Whatever happens next, she needs her father. Agent Torres stood. We'll arrange protective custody for all three of you. But understand, your lives as you knew them are over. New identities, new city, constant supervision. Victor's network spans multiple countries. This isn't temporary. I looked at Rachel. For years, we'd been strangers bound only by Emma. Now, trauma had forced us into an alliance neither of us wanted, but both desperately needed. We'll do whatever keeps Emma safe, Rachel said quietly. The media caught wind of the story within hours. Headlines screamed, Uber driver dad was actually elite soldier. Cameras camped outside the hospital. Reporters shouted questions about SEAL Team 6, about trafficking rings, about vigilante justice. My face was everywhere. The life I'd built to disappear, shattered in an instant. Emma finally spoke to a trauma counselor, but only with me present. She described the kidnapping in broken fragments, the van, the fear, Victor's cold voice promising her father would come. She didn't understand revenge or international trafficking. She only knew she'd been taken and that monsters were real. Ryan pulled me aside late that night. Jack, Victor left a message. He called one of his lieutenants we arrested. Said this isn't over. Said he'll take everything from you, piece by piece, until there's nothing left. I stared out the hospital window at the city lights below. Somewhere out there, Victor was planning his next move. Wounded, angry, obsessed with vengeance that consumed reason. Let him come, I said softly. Next time, I won't miss. Rachel joined us, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. The prosecutor wants us in a safe house by morning. New names, new lives. Emma's asking if we're staying together. The question hung heavy. Rachel and I had failed as a couple long ago. But Emma needed stability, needed both her parents present and united. We stay together, I decided. However long it takes. Rachel nodded, tears slipping free. Thank you. The safe house sat on 3 acres of wooded property, surrounded by security cameras and motion sensors. FBI agents rotated shifts outside, armed and vigilant. Inside, Rachel tried to create normalcy for Emma. Homemade meals, bedtime stories, routine. But Emma's nightmares shattered any illusion of peace. She woke screaming most nights, searching for me in the darkness. I spent days testifying before federal grand juries, providing every detail about Victor's network. Prosecutors built cases against 17 individuals, traffickers, corrupt officers, money launderers. Jennifer Hayes called it the biggest trafficking bust in a decade. But Victor remained a ghost, vanishing across borders, always one step ahead. Ryan coordinated with Interpol, tracking financial transactions and known associates. He's bleeding money, Ryan explained one evening. The network's collapsing without infrastructure. He's getting desperate. Desperate men make mistakes, I replied, studying surveillance reports spread across the dining table. Rachel watched from the kitchen doorway. Or desperate men do terrible things. She was right. Victor had nothing left to lose. His brother was dead, his empire crumbling, his reputation destroyed. Men like that became the most dangerous kind, willing to burn everything just to watch their enemies suffer. 3 weeks into protective custody, the first probe came. A suspicious vehicle circled the property perimeter twice before agents intercepted it. The driver claimed to be lost, but his background check revealed connections to Victor's former lieutenant. Warning signs were everywhere. Jennifer authorized increased security. He's testing defenses, looking for weaknesses. Stay alert. Emma grew quieter each day, withdrawing into herself. The trauma counselor said it was normal, that healing took time. But watching my daughter fade broke something inside me that combat never could. One night, I found her staring out her bedroom window. What are you thinking about, baby? The bad man, she whispered. Is he going to come back? I knelt beside her, choosing honesty over comfort. He might try, but I won't let him hurt you again. I promise. You promised before, she said, voice barely audible. But he still took me. Her words cut deeper than any blade. She was right. I'd failed her once. How could she trust me now? Rachel appeared in the doorway, having heard everything. After Emma fell asleep, we sat together in the living room, silence heavy between us. She doesn't feel safe, Rachel finally said. Not really. Not while he's still out there. I know, I admitted. This half-life, hiding and waiting, it's not living. It's just existing between disasters. So what do? I met her gaze. We end it. Permanently. Rachel understood immediately. You want to go after him. Jennifer's building a legal case. But cases take months, years. Victor won't wait that long. He'll strike again, and next time we might not be ready. The FBI won't let you go rogue again, Rachel warned. I'm not asking permission. Ryan arrived the next morning with intelligence. Victor had been spotted in a border town, meeting with former associates. It was the first confirmed sighting in weeks, and it was too coincidental to ignore. He wants you to know where he is, Ryan said. This is bait, Jack. Another trap. Then let's give him what he wants, I replied. But this time, we control the battlefield. Jennifer objected strenuously when I proposed the plan. You're under federal protection. You can't just leave and hunt a fugitive. He's coming for my family regardless, I argued. Better I meet him on my terms than wait for him to attack Emma again. After heated debate, Jennifer agreed to a compromise, a joint operation with FBI tactical support, but I'd lead. You get him alive if possible, she insisted. We need his testimony to dismantle the remaining network. I made no promises. The plan was simple. Victor was holed up in an abandoned motel, surrounded by loyalists. We'd use thermal imaging to map positions, cut power to eliminate his advantage, then extract him before he could escape or fight back. Rachel pulled me aside before I left. Bring him to justice, Jack. Don't become like him. I kissed Emma goodbye, her small arms wrapped tight around my neck. Come back, Daddy, she whispered. Always, I promised. The operation launched at midnight. Ryan's team surrounded the motel while I approached from the rear. Thermal scans showed 4 heat signatures inside, Victor and 3 bodyguards. The moment power died, chaos erupted. Victor's men opened fire blindly, panic overtaking discipline. Flashbangs shattered windows, smoke grenades filled rooms. I moved through the confusion with surgical precision, neutralizing threats one by one. Then I found him. Victor stood in the manager's office, weapon raised but trembling. His shoulder wound hadn't healed properly. He looked smaller now, broken by desperation. You should have stayed hidden, he hissed. Should have lived with the fear forever. My daughter deserves better than fear, I said calmly. So does every child you ever hurt. His finger tightened on the trigger. Then we die together. Ryan's laser sight appeared on Victor's chest. Drop it, or you don't leave this room alive. Victor's eyes darted between us, calculating odds he couldn't win. Slowly, he lowered his weapon. It's over, I told him. Your network is destroyed. Your people are in custody. You've lost everything. Not everything. Victor smiled coldly. I've got one last move. Before anyone could react, he pulled the phone from his pocket and pressed send. My blood froze. Insurance policy, he laughed. If I don't check in every 6 hours, my last associate pays your safe house a visit. Wonder how good your security really is. Ryan was already on his radio, alerting agents at the safe house. My world narrowed to a single terrible thought, Emma. Ryan's voice exploded through the radio. Safe house breach attempt in progress. Suspect neutralized at perimeter. Family secure. I repeat, family is secure. Relief flooded through me so powerfully my knees nearly buckled. Emma was safe. Rachel was safe. Victor's final gambit had failed. Victor's face twisted in fury and defeat. No, that's impossible. Your associate walked right into a trap, Ryan said coldly. We've been monitoring all your known contacts for weeks. The moment you pressed send, we were ready. FBI agents stormed in, weapons trained on Victor. They zip-tied his wrists and read him his rights while he screamed threats and curses. All the power, all the menace, gone. He was just a broken man facing justice he'd avoided for too long. I watched them drag him away, feeling nothing. No satisfaction, no triumph. Just exhaustion and the desperate need to see my daughter. The drive back to the safe house felt eternal. When I finally walked through the door, Emma launched herself into my arms. You came back. You promised, and you came back. Rachel stood behind her, tears streaming freely. Is it really over? It's over, I confirmed. Victor's in custody. His network is finished. The months that followed were a blur of court proceedings and testimony. Victor faced federal charges: kidnapping, human trafficking, conspiracy, attempted murder. His trial became national news, exposing corruption that reached into police departments, border patrol, even local government. I testified for 3 days, recounting every detail from Emma's kidnapping to the final capture. Defense attorneys tried to paint me as a vigilante who'd acted outside the law, but Jennifer Hayes systematically destroyed their arguments. The rescued girls testified. Sophie, brave and strong despite everything she'd endured, described the horrors Victor's network inflicted. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous on all counts. Guilty. Judge Harrison, a stern woman in her 60s, showed no mercy during sentencing. You preyed on the most vulnerable among us. You destroyed innocence for profit. You corrupted systems meant to protect children. The law allows me to impose consecutive sentences totaling 140 years. I am imposing the maximum. Victor stared straight ahead, expressionless. No remorse, no humanity, just emptiness. His 3 corrupt police officers received sentences ranging from 15 to 30 years. The judge who'd taken bribes was disbarred and imprisoned. 27 members of the trafficking network faced justice across multiple states and countries. Emma watched none of it. She was busy healing, attending therapy twice weekly, slowly rediscovering childhood. Her nightmares decreased. Her smile returned. She started playing with other kids at the park, though Rachel or I always stayed within sight. The FBI offered me a consultant position with their trafficking task force. Your experience and skills could save lives, Jennifer explained. Help us prevent what happened to Emma from happening to other children. I accepted. Not for redemption. Nothing could erase my failures. But maybe, just maybe, I could stop other fathers from living the nightmare I'd survived. Rachel and I rebuilt our relationship slowly, carefully, not as lovers, but as partners united by Emma's well-being. We attended family therapy, learned to communicate without blame, found respect in shared trauma. One evening, 6 months after Victor's sentencing, Emma asked the question I'd been dreading. Daddy, why did the bad man take me? I knelt beside her, choosing words carefully. Because he was angry at choices I made before you were born. But none of it was your fault. You did nothing wrong. Are there more bad men out there? Yes, I admitted. But there are also good people fighting them. People like Ryan, like the FBI agents, like me. And we'll always fight to protect kids like you. She nodded slowly, processing. Will you teach me to be strong? Like you? Pride and pain tangled in my chest. I'll teach you to be stronger than me. Strong enough to be kind, to be brave, to never let fear control you. Rachel joined us, and we held Emma between us, broken but healing, scarred but surviving. The final twist came during Victor's appeal hearing. His attorney presented new evidence, testimony from a former school security guard named Thomas who'd been arrested on unrelated charges. Under interrogation, Thomas confessed to providing Victor's network with Emma's schedule, her route home, her vulnerabilities. He'd worked at Emma's school for 3 years, trusted by staff and parents. And he'd been feeding information to traffickers the entire time. The revelation sent shockwaves through the community. How many other children had Thomas's information endangered? How many networks had he enabled? Jennifer prosecuted him swiftly. He received 40 years. Standing outside the courthouse after Thomas's sentencing, Rachel squeezed my hand. It's really over now, isn't it? I watched Emma play on the courthouse steps, laughing with a therapy dog brought by victim advocates. No, I said quietly. It's not over. It's just beginning. What do you mean? Victor's network is destroyed, but trafficking doesn't end. Other networks exist, other monsters prey on children. Emma gets to heal and grow and live. But there are kids out there right now who need someone to fight for them. Rachel studied my face. You're going to keep doing this. Working with the FBI, hunting traffickers. I have to, I replied. Emma got a second chance because I refused to quit. Other kids deserve the same. She nodded slowly. Then we support you. Both of us. Emma ran over, breathless and smiling. Can we get ice cream? Absolutely, I said, lifting her onto my shoulders. As we walked toward the car, Emma asked one more question. Daddy, are you a hero? I thought about all the mistakes, the failures, the laws broken and lives risked. No, baby, I'm just your father, and I'll always come for you. That was enough. For Emma, for Rachel, for me. We'd survived the darkness and found light on the other side. The scars would never fully fade, but we'd carry them together. A family forged in fire, unbreakable. 1 year later, Emma stood at the entrance of her new school, backpack slung over her shoulders, nervousness and excitement dancing across her face. This wasn't the same frightened girl who'd been stolen from a school curb. This was someone stronger, someone who'd survived darkness and chosen to keep living. You ready? I asked, crouching beside her. She nodded, then paused. Will you walk me inside? Every single day if you want me to, I promised. Rachel waited by the car, watching us with a soft smile. The three of us had found something unexpected in our shared trauma. Not romance, but genuine partnership. We were a family again, different than before, but real. Inside, teachers greeted Emma warmly. Security protocols had been completely overhauled. Badge systems, monitored entrances, background checks on every staff member. Emma's case had changed policies nationwide, forcing schools to take child safety seriously in ways they'd ignored before. Emma hugged me tight before heading to her classroom. Love you, Dad. Love you more, I replied, watching her walk away with confidence I'd feared she'd never find again. My phone buzzed, Ryan calling. Jack, we've got a lead on a trafficking cell operating near the Canadian border. Jennifer wants you on the task force. You available? I glanced at Emma's classroom one more time. She was laughing with other kids, her smile genuine and bright. She'd done the hardest work, choosing joy after terror, trust after betrayal, hope after loss. I'm available, I told Ryan. Let's go save some kids. The work never ended. For every victor locked away, another predator emerged. But now I wasn't fighting alone. The FBI had assembled a specialized unit. Former military, law enforcement, survivors who'd turned their pain into purpose. Together, we hunted the hunters, protected the vulnerable, gave families second chances they'd never thought possible. Rachel pursued advocacy work, speaking at conferences about child safety and trauma recovery. She turned her anger into action, helping other parents navigate nightmares similar to ours. Emma sometimes joined her, sharing her story with a courage that humbled everyone who heard it. Evenings, we gathered for dinner like a normal family. Emma talked about school projects and friends. Rachel shared stories from her advocacy events. I mostly listened, grateful for moments that once seemed impossible. One night, Emma asked about my work. Do you still think about the bad man? Sometimes, I admitted. But mostly I think about the kids we've helped since then. Families reunited, predators stopped, children who get to grow up safe. Because of what happened to me, she asked quietly. Because you survived, I corrected. Because you refused to let what he did define who you are. You're the bravest person I know, Emma. You inspire everything I do. She smiled, then returned to her homework like the conversation was ordinary. But it wasn't ordinary. It was healing, one small moment at a time. Victor died in prison 3 years into his sentence. Heart attack, the report said. I felt nothing when Ryan told me. Victor was already irrelevant, a ghost from a nightmare we'd woken from. Emma grew into a remarkable young woman. She pursued psychology, wanting to help other trauma survivors. Rachel and I attended every graduation, every achievement, every milestone with pride that defied description. 10 years after her kidnapping, Emma stood on a stage addressing a conference on child trafficking prevention. Hundreds of people listened as she shared her story, the terror, the rescue, the long road to recovery. "My father once told me he's not a hero," Emma said, her voice steady and strong. "But he's wrong. Anyone who fights for someone who can't fight for themselves, that's a hero. And we need more of them." Standing in the audience beside Rachel, I felt tears I couldn't stop. Not from pain, but from overwhelming gratitude. We'd survived. We'd healed. We'd turned horror into hope. After the conference, families approached us, some thanking us, others sharing their own survival stories. One father gripped my hand, eyes wet with emotion. "My daughter was taken 6 months ago. Your story gave me hope when I had none. We got her back last week." That moment crystallized everything. Emma's trauma hadn't been meaningless. Our suffering had created ripples that saved others, inspired action, changed systems. Walking to the car that evening, Emma linked arms with both Rachel and me. "Thank you," she said simply, "for never giving up." "Never," I replied. "Not on you. Not ever." The scars remained. Some nights, Emma still had nightmares. Some days, the memories hit unexpectedly. But we faced them together, stronger than the darkness, united by love that trauma couldn't destroy. Victor took Emma for days. But we took back years, decades, a lifetime of moments he'd tried to steal. That was the real victory. Not revenge, but resilience. Not vengeance, but choosing to keep living, keep loving, keep fighting for what matters. Emma was right. I'm not a hero. But maybe, just maybe, I'm something better. A father who refused to quit, who fought through hell, and who learned that the greatest strength isn't in how hard you hit, but in how you protect what you love. Before you go, I need to ask you something important. If you were in Jack's shoes, facing impossible choices to save your child, how far would you go? And please, comment below and tell me where you're watching from. I love hearing from viewers around the world. Also, let me know what kind of stories you enjoy most: military thrillers, revenge tales, family betrayal, or emotional survival stories. Your feedback helps me bring you the content you truly want to see. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more epic thriller and revenge stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Until next time, take care of yourselves and the people you love. Stay strong, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next incredible story. Story finished.